Hey, welcome to Men on Everything. This is our show that we kind of created when Men on Scandal went on break, because we do Men on Scandal, as most of you know. But we decided we'd do a show about everything, call it Men on Everything, and here we are. Mark Clark in New York, Troy Johnson in Washington, D.C., and I'm Tony Scott in St. Louis. And, of course, about a week ago yesterday, the decision came down not to indict Darren Wilson in the shooting death of Michael Brown Jr. Darren Wilson is a police officer, and Michael Brown was 18 and unarmed. No one really knows what's going on, but now everybody's pointing the finger. There are a lot of things that went on that Monday night. The unrest that went on, the fires that were set, windows that were bashed in businesses in Ferguson, which was uncalled for. And I think, that kind of like really set off what people thought about, again, about black folks, and in particular black folks in the Ferguson area. But, I've said this all along, unless you have empathy for people who have been brutalized by police forever, not just in the last 20 years, let's call it it's been forever, then it's not your world, and you choose not to care because that's not your reality. Well, that says more about you, the kind of person you are, than anything else. But, Darren Wilson has resigned, which I knew he would. There's no way he can be a law enforcement officer ever again.
His lawyer, frankly, told him, you could go back on duty, get called into an alley, and be executed.
Yep. Yeah. And not only that, if you went to work in another jurisdiction somewhere, maybe in another part of the state, maybe Kansas City, or maybe in another state, period, and you and your partner get called to, you get called in, both of y'all get executed. So what police department wants that?
Yeah. It's obviously a situation that continues to unfold. And I think, there have been so many questions about how, just going back to Monday night, how it unfolded, how the riots began. Why was the verdict handed down so late in the evening? The conversation about Bob McDonnell, the prosecutor, and some of the statements that he made when he gave out, when he handed down the grand jury's decision. And of course the conspiracy theories as well that are kind of popping off. I've seen, we could talk about random things. If we're talking about the rioting and the protesting, I've seen some video, and I'm not Mr. Conspiracy Theory, but I did find it interesting that I've seen some video. I know you are, Tom. Yes, Mark, you are king of the conspiracy. But I have seen some video that you see guys in like paramilitary outfits allegedly setting fire to a vehicle, allegedly next to that auto parts store that we all saw burn down on CNN and other outlets and stuff like that. Some mysterious folks who brought it upon themselves to police the area from rooftops. Kind of an interesting group. I don't know, Tony, you probably have heard, since you're right there.
The Oath Keepers.
Oath Keepers. Yes, the Oath Keepers.
Well, they were actually called down. They were like, get down from there, man. Are you crazy? Get off of that roof. But yeah, they were up there for a while though.
So just so much happening that, much like this situation with Michael Brown, the information continues to unfold. We're not even getting to the bottom of two distinctly different situations: the grand jury and then the aftermath. Both of them are being analyzed as we speak.
I think the thing that I'm it's not really conspiracy theory necessarily. That's not where I want to start. But I am, we're in the media. I guess people have said that about us. So you guys are in the media, and even when you're inside the machine, you may not know how it works. But the one thing I will say that's troubling when you watch like all these news shows, right? None of them have, I don't say none of them, but when you have all these platforms, it's an opportunity to cover things in another way, right? And that's what you don't see. You see the sensationalism, and people are, when it bleeds, it leads, blah, blah, blah. And the sensational part, that's what people want. But I'm like, okay, something that keeps coming up when this happens, and we've heard it many times before, Why do the black people, why do they tear down their own neighborhoods? Why don't they tear down blah, 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 right? Okay, let's have a expert on that can give us information. When you talk about the oppressed in any country, right? I have a feeling that the oppressed in any country, it happens the same way. When they don't have a voice and violence erupts, they tear down their own neighborhoods. I want to see that guy. I want to see that professor say that on TV. You know what I mean? I want somebody to provide insight into what we're seeing, not the thing burning down, but tell us what happens when when they feel like they're voiceless and they're oppressed or whatever. Is it uncommon? Is it just African Americans who do this? I have a feeling, no, it's not. In China, in any country, this is, and so in a system, in this system where you have this, it's very common. In fact, those people who study it, I'm sure would say it's not surprising. And so why don't we ever deal with that? You know what I mean? We do the same. Every station deals with it the same way. And even when we talk about, you had this time, because I got tired of even watching the coverage, because all they were showing was almost waiting for something to come off, like waiting for something to jump off. That's what was going on that night. Like, let's go live to Lester. I'm on a phone and somebody just threw something.
Yeah.
It's like, or Michael Brown's parents just said burn this mother down. Or, okay, well, give us some insight into what's really going on here.
But see, I think we live in a different time where how news organizations approach their coverage is way different from when we were coming up. Even before we got into the business, I think, the whole thing, if it bleeds, it leads, has even since that phrase was created, has even gone to another level. Now it's like, where's the drama? Just a little, we'll lead. If we have no blood, find the drama. Right. We need something to hook people at the beginning of our newscast to keep them in there. We'll exploit it. We'll make it bigger than it is. And then we'll get to the emotions. And that's really what it is, reaching the emotions of their viewers. And so people can have a reaction and say they saw it. I saw it on CNN. I saw it. So now CNN gets a mention. And that's just another way. Go to the website. If you didn't see it, go to their website. It's on their website. And so the whole thing is played into the emotions of people by any means necessary. There used to be a time where they didn't put certain things on television. Now they'll put it, and if it's really graphic, they'll say, hey, this is really graphic, just be prepared. And then they'll put it on anyway, right? They'll do that. That's your warning, where before there was no question at all. No, we're not putting that on TV. Get out of here. It don't work that way anymore.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of different forces that different media and news outlets work under, and that's why you have this variation. Some organizations, if we're talking about something extremely graphic, have a no way we're going to do that. Right. But there is a conversation that's happening inside a newsroom where there's a debate going on about, okay, if we're going to show this, why are we showing this? And it usually boils down to much more than being sensationalized, because we know that's what the effect is going to be. It's right. A sensational moment. Does it create a context to the story that you're trying to tell people about? So, I'm not here to defend the entire news world, but I will say that I think it's interesting, what Mark was saying about the voice of people in terms of why are they tearing up their neighborhoods and stuff like that. It's interesting when there are currently protests going on across the country in the wake of the Michael Brown decision, mm-hmm. and you see a very well organized, actually Michael Brown Action Network. There's several kind of ad hoc organizations that are coalescing around each other to continue the protests and the conversation about police brutality in the communities across the country, about the demilitarization of police and stuff like that. And I had this conversation in my segment here in D.C. on Channel 4 yesterday about, and I mentioned a few of the signs that I saw in the photographs that were taken here in D.C. And one of them was, rioting is the language of people with no voice, essentially people with no voice. Mm-hmm. It is. It's David and Goliath. It's our opportunity to change the the conversation, to change the focus on what you think is going on to exactly what we want to tell you about. You shut down roads in Washington, D.C., in the nation's capital, and lay down and have a die-in on the streets. It's a temporary inconvenience for people driving. Some people are going to be pissed off about it. But now those young people who you have to commend for keeping this topic going, it's really a young person. It really, I don't know if you guys have picked up on this, even in watching all of the discussions, all of the things that we've seen, even the visuals of buildings burning, it takes me directly to the 60s. And really what's lost on us now is that the leaders of the civil rights movement in the 60s were also young people. But these young people have a different, it's as we've said before on the show, it ain't your daddy's civil rights movement. We're more savvy, we're more educated, we're socially aware, we use social media to, they're using Instagram to tell you where the rally's going to be. They're not broadcasting it anywhere. They're shooting out a tweet, here's a picture, be there, and it's going down. And they're also monitoring the response that they're getting from the people that they're having a problem with. They're going to end up getting a seat at the table, because if you're staging rallies with the police departments and stuff like that, you're going to have to work together because free speech is protected. So, it seems like they have a methodical way of making this happen. So,
I know, like a lot of the people here in the Ferguson, St. Louis, and they want President Obama here.
Yeah.
Right. And
do they really want him there?
They say, why hasn't he come? But my question, what do you expect him to do? Do you think if he goes to Ferguson and stands in the middle of West Florida and says enough, no more rioting, that there's going to be no more rioting, there's going to be no, it's not good. What do you expect him to do when he's here? Will his mere presence calm things? I don't know. What I do know, that if he comes, he brings a whole Secret Service battalion with him. And if you're even on the same block he's on and you step incorrect, you talk about brute force, they don't have to answer anybody. They're going to do what they got to do to protect that man's life. And if shooting you in the head is one reason, that's what's going to happen. Do we need that here right now?
And think about the strain that it would put on local police.
Yeah.
Whenever a president comes. I mean, Secret Service and whatever military that's attached to his entourage, of course they're going to be there. But that puts an extreme amount of pressure on police departments locally. Yeah. Can they guarantee like you said, can they guarantee his safety at a time like this when tensions are running so high?
Yeah, that's the deal. Darren Wilson, like I said, he got no severance. He's got, he's been funded $500,000. And, when the book deals start coming and the speaking engagements start coming, money's not going to really be an issue for him. He's got a baby on the way. His wife is still on the Ferguson Police Department, but I can't imagine that she'll be staying there much longer either. When word gets out exactly who she is.
Tony, did or did not ABC pay for that interview?
No. To my knowledge, no, it didn't happen. Because you know what? I think eventually he's going to be on all the networks. I think ABC was the first one, and I don't think they didn't pay him for that, because it would be suicide for them to pay for it to get out that they paid Darren Wilson for an interview. I mean, that would destroy all their news credibility, their reputation, and it wouldn't be worth it to me. So I would be shocked.
I don't know, Tony.
But news organizations do pay for interviews.
Yeah. I don't know, guys. I think I wouldn't be surprised if they did pay him and vet him, because that's also a new practice.
Yeah, well, that's true too. The Rams, 5 Rams players, before they stomped all over the Oakland Raiders Sunday, came out of the tunnel with the hands up, don't shoot thing, and they got criticized for it. Jeff Rorta is the business manager for the St. Louis Police Union, and apparently he's also their communications director. But I said this on my podcast, Jeff Rorta's a turd, okay? He is... This is a man who used to be a police officer, and if you watch Rachel Nichols on CNN, she broke it down yesterday. Jeff Rorta was a police officer who was fired because he filed a false report on a suspect and also filed a false report on the police chief. of where he was working at the time. How somebody who lost his job because of what he did can be a spokesperson for the policemen's union tells me that the policemen's union really has no credibility as long as he's their mouthpiece.
Yeah.
Y'all want to jump in?
I was letting it sink in.
You know?
I thought it was interesting that of all of the criticisms, the police unions haven't said anything in the wake of all of these protests, in the wake of all these fires and cars being hit with Molotov cocktails, and then when 5 NFL players make a stand, then they come out guns blazing. They didn't criticize the community when all of the rioting was going on, but they criticized these NFL players because there's an opportunity. There's an opportunity for them. What I heard him say was, we want to have a conversation with the St. Louis Rams. We want to have a conversation with the NFL about this because of our anger. You're trying to position yourself for a conversation on some other stuff. They're trying to insert themselves into the conversation. I just thought it was a bit over the top for them to be as outraged as they were.
Well, I think what they fail to understand, though, Troy, is this right here, the hands up, don't shoot thing, isn't really about Michael Brown anymore.
Right.
I mean, it is, but it isn't. But it's about a movement. It's about a movement of enough is enough. And if the police departments don't recognize that, then we haven't moved an inch as far as trying to gain any ground in this movement. It just hasn't happened. Because if they can't understand that, and the thing is, like some sports bar here says they're no longer going to support the Rams. They're taking all their Ram stuff off the walls and all that because, they don't want to support an organization that supports thugs. You missed the whole point. You missed the whole point. So bye. Bye. Go away. Bye, Felicia. Yes. We don't, the Rams don't need. And when Jeff Rorta demanded that the NFL and the Rams suspend these players, the NFL was like, no.
They didn't waste any time to say, we don't care about what they did.
Yeah.
It's not an issue. It's free speech.
Yeah. They were like, no. What else? Anything else? No. That's not going to happen. Any other thing? Anything else? It's like, no. It was a clear no. But, I mean, that's the disconnect with people who are pro-police. But, I think most of us are pro-police. What we are anti is anti-bad police. And in Jeff Rorter's world, there is nothing the police department can do that is wrong. They do no wrong ever. And there's the disconnect. Until we replace people who are not open and honest about what they represent and that it's possible, there are bad police officers. Most of them are great, but there are bad ones. Then we're never going to get anywhere.
And NFL was like, hey, and also it's the Rams, okay? Come on.
the Rams showed out on Sunday, though.
Nobody say anything about the Raiders. Yeah, their hands up too. No box.
That's true. Charles Barkley again put himself in the news by saying that he thinks that the rioters are scumbags. Well, you know what? I think rioters are scumbags too. I don't think the protesters are scumbags. The protesters are inspiring. In St. Louis, they shut down 5 malls on Saturday. On the first Saturday of the holiday shopping season, they shut down 5 malls. I mean, they didn't shut them down for the rest of the day, but they closed the malls for a period of time, and there was no violence. There was no arrests. It was peaceful. And my understanding was at the Chesterfield Mall, Chesterfield being a suburb of St. Louis, if you're not from this area and watching, that there were people there shopping who actually joined in the protest. And they said the police officers were really great. They stood back a distance and let what they came to do, they let it happen. They realized it was going to be peaceful, and when folks got done protesting, they got up, they left, and everything went back to normal. So but rioters, rioters, people, and it's almost like it's 3 parts here. It's protesters, it's rioters, and then there's just flat out troublemakers.
Yeah.
And what Charles Barkley said. Charles Barkley's had his issues with police, but I think Charles Barkley knows that he's caused a lot of that on his own. But Charles Barkley has lived a life of privilege for so long, he may have forgot what it's like to struggle. I mean, you know, it's just a fact. I mean, I mean, he's allowed to say what he wants to say. I had no problem with him criticizing rioters, because rioters, you know, and it's almost like you got to put it in perspective, though. You know, I mean, has Charles Barkley, when was the last time he got pulled over for being black?
Well, he's been pulled over and arrested a couple times, but, you know.
A lot of that he caused it himself, though.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. Since we're talking about football, Ray Rice got reinstated in the NFL, and him and his wife Janae have been doing damage control on the Today Show, and I'm sure they'll be making the rounds to other outlets too.
Janae, stay home. Shut up. No, not shut up. I don't mean shut up, but I'm like, Janae, no. Just I think it's just the battered wife. The battered wife, I don't think. I just don't think it's working. You know, I think them together might be a better interview, but by herself, I don't stand for abuse. You got knocked out. Then she says she's not viewed the tape. You got to view the tape. You have to view the tape because we have to know what we saw.
Yeah. You
have to know what we're reacting to. You got knocked out. And you know what? It is a blessing because getting knocked out, you didn't see all that. You didn't see what we saw. And what we saw is undefensible. Indefensible, undefensible, I don't know the word, but, you know, so you can't be talking about it if you didn't see it. It's like, I think that's what obviously it bothers me. And it's I wasn't raised like that. You got knocked out, okay? If you weren't raised like that, if I got knocked out, I don't give a damn how much I love my wife. I'm out, okay? Because I love myself more. But you can make that decision, but let's not talk about it. You made the decision, rock with it, and you be with your husband. I don't want to hear you talking about how I wasn't raised, I don't come from this, because to me it doesn't resonate. You know, and the fact that you haven't seen, why didn't you see the video? What are you afraid of? Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
But does the fact that she said that was the only time Ray Rice has ever hit her, is that believable?
No.
You know, because to me, he didn't hit her like that was the first time.
But you know what? It doesn't matter. It really
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter either way because let's hope that that's the only time that he's ever been hit by her. But even if there was a pop-up that says, bling, this is the first time it's ever happened, the public people aren't buying it. They're not buying it. And I mean, now this situation is being essentially retried in public opinion again, added with their comments to the situation, and people are still saying it doesn't matter because you got, as Mark said, you got knocked out.
And then she said, I take some responsibility too. What do you? Shut up! It's like you're killing yourself. I mean, my son, and she cries about her husband not being able to play the game that he loves. He knocked you the fuck out. Give a fuck about him playing. My son taken away from him. What are you talking? That sounds like a sickness, man. That's some sickness. You care more about him being able to play a game that he loves than the fact that he knocked you out.
Well, I think that's the typical victim, though, right? Is it not?
Right.
Kind of thing, right? Where she just doesn't see, or she's scared, or whatever the reason is that, you know,
Do you love him more? Do you love him more than you love yourself? Even I think
we know the answer to that, though.
Let's say this is the situation. You feel more comfortable if you're like, you know what? I gotta admit, you know, it may take a long time for me to get over this. I can forgive him, but for me to get over it, it's going to take a long time. But he is my husband. I decided to be his wife, and we're going to work this thing out because I believe in marriage and I believe in staying together. But it will take me a long time. That will make you be like, okay. But that booty chatter she's talking is like you said, you guys said victim.
Yeah.
If there's a positive to this, And based on what Mark just said, maybe not. But no, if there's a positive, I mean, I think there is a shot for them to heal from this, because what I did like was the fact that the family was there. You know, it kind of feels like they're trying to groom these young people and to be accountable, you know?
But was it for show, or was it for that reason that you're saying, though?
I thought that it was for life. It wasn't for show.
Okay.
I mean, you know.
So you felt it was sincere?
I thought there was some sincerity there.
Okay.
I mean, you have two things going on. You have, first of all, the whole knockout, which Mark eloquently had a conversation about, but then on the other hand, you know, Ray Rice, for the after effect, for what happened with the Ravens and what happened with the NFL, he told the truth.
Right.
So, you know, he owned up to his responsibility in the situation. He didn't shirk away from, like, as he says, he didn't complain about any suspension. He didn't do any of that. So, I mean, there are two massive issues going on in this thing. And like I said, what I liked about it was her parents seemed to be kind of in their corner, trying to help them put their lives back together. Which a lot of people don't have a support system in those situations. We're talking about battered women and families like that. They don't always have a support system.
I tell you what, if it was my wife, if it was my daughter, I wouldn't have been there.
No?
Nope. Peace.
You're on your own?
No. What I'm saying is,
I'm saying you're telling your daughter you're on your own. I'm not
supporting this dude. Okay. I'm not supporting him. I'm sorry. Okay. I can't get it. You know, I call myself a Christian. I'm supposed to forgive. But the way he knocks you out, oh no. Yeah. No, my brother, you got one. That's my daughter? Right. Oh no. Yeah. No, I would kick his ass, and that would be it. Now that sounds crazy, but that's what dads do.
Well, no,
Tony, Olivia.
Yeah.
Olivia.
I feel the same way.
Would you be there in the corner working it out, working it together?
No, I wouldn't. But here's the most superficial question about this whole thing. Will a team sign him this year? There's only 3 or 4 games left in the season. Is he going to get signed?
No.
What?
No.
What?
I mean, this season.
No, there's too much.
There's 4 games left
for a team. Anybody who would, if you wanted to sign him for Christmas, you'd have to be a team that's going to make it to the playoffs, right? Mm-hmm. So let's cut out the Tampa Bay Bucks of the world and the Oakland Raiders and you know, any team that's not going to make the playoffs, take them off the table because it's not worth the gamble. Then now you have teams that are in contention that could make a playoff run.
Right.
Can you deal with the backlash that's going to happen when you sign this guy from your fan base? That's going to be a huge problem. Not to mention the fact, you know, how's he going to mesh with a team? Because there are guys on the team that feel like you guys feel, you know. Well, and the last thing obviously is he ain't played no football in a year, and when he did play football, he wasn't doing very hot anyway. So I mean, there are a lot of factors there. I don't think it's going to happen.
Well, let me revisit, because I'm be very harsh with him. Okay, as a father, this is what I probably, if I'm honest, it ain't about football, you know. So forget the football stuff. You know what I mean? Take a year off, work on your marriage. You know what I'm saying? If I'm the dad, that's where I would probably be. I believe it. See, you rushing back to get in football, or hey, I told the truth, man. No, man. You need to get your life together.
Well, let me ask you this though, Mark. Christmas is in 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. It's going to be at your house. You're Janae's father. Is he invited? Can he come to your house?
No.
He's not allowed in your house for Christmas?
No. Okay. I'm talking emotions right now.
Yeah, no, but I mean, when you're a father and your daughter was punched like a rented mule on national television on video that the world has seen. I mean, you can't help but speak from emotion.
And you know, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was saying maybe you need to have him at the New Year's Eve party. Hey, let me keep an eye on you.
We're going out back to fire a couple rounds out. No. 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 I think I'm talking, but I think it would just be hard for me. And again, I have 3 daughters, so Lord Jesus.
Yeah,
but
so do I.
The abuse piece, somebody putting their hands on my baby. I'm sorry, buddy. Nope. Yeah. I just and our family has had abuse, and our family, not my kids.
We've all had abuse.
But my late aunt and my mother dealt with it, and I think I'm much like my mother. You know, it comes a time when you just got to be like.
Well, what about? I understand the reaction as two parents of daughters, but what about your daughter in this situation? Janae she's 25, 26, 27 years old, somewhere in there, similar age to Ray Rice. Mm-hmm. You're having a conversation with your daughter as a father, and she says, "Look, that's my husband." Mm-hmm. How do you guys react to that?
Yeah, I think I would say, number one, he needs to stop playing ball this year. Y'all need to get your life together. Y'all need counseling. You guys need to work on your marriage. Any man that would do what he did to you needs help. And as my daughter, I'm very concerned for your safety. And so today, based on what I've seen so far in this young man, I don't trust him with my daughter. I don't trust him with you. So he's your husband, though, like you said, and that's your decision. But that's how I stand. That's what I feel about it. That's what I would say.
Tony?
Yeah, I think I would be along the same lines. I mean, my daughter says that's my man, and I love him, and you know, I want to be with him, even though he knocked you the hell out. I think to some degree, he not only needs to take the year off and work on himself and his marriage, and not even think about football at this point. Is something that really needs to be in play. But he has a lot of mending offenses to do, not only to his wife, but to his in-laws. I mean, here, you know, I trusted you to take my daughter, and now she's your responsibility. Now you have to take care of her. And if this is your definition of taking care of her, then him and I need to have a conversation man to man. We need to sit down and talk and go over what exactly happened. And there's, you know, and then I have to decide whether he's going to do this again. I do want to know. I want to know, have you ever done this before? Maybe not to this degree, but I want all the information, and I want it now. And Christmas, is he welcome in my house? Man, I'm with Mark, man. I got to say no. And if that means my daughter's not coming over, then she ain't coming over. But I'm so angry at this point, and I have the right to be angry, and I have the right to be able to deal with it on my schedule. And right. I may not be ready for him to be in my house for Thanksgiving that just passed, or Christmas is coming, or New Year's. I may not be ready for him to be in my house for that. You know, especially like, you know, if that's my older daughter, then, you know, what kind of example is being set by welcoming him back into the house with open arms? You know, let bygones be bygones, Christmas, I forgive you. What kind of message am I sending to my other children, you know? And it's kind of one of those things, it's so multifaceted, multi-layered, mm-hmm. that it's hard really to even fathom being in that situation, yet in the blink of an eye, her father is in that situation. And it's not about him, but since we're talking about how fathers would react to that, man, I don't know, man. I know I would be very angry, you know, and I would really not trust him.
Yeah, and I would forgive him. I believe in forgiveness. I believe in forgiveness. Like Tony said, I would be angry, and I wouldn't trust him, and so it would just take time. But I do definitely believe in forgiveness, and so. But yeah, it's just too close. Troy, as a father to a boy. You're Ray Rice's dad. Now, what do you say to him?
Well, I don't know. Is his dad in his life? I'm not sure about that.
All right, Troy, you're his dad. You're his dad for this example.
You're his dad in his life.
I am the father of a son who's 22 years old, and my son recently got in trouble for something, certainly not on a grand scale like this, but I was pissed. You know, I was pissed off. And I let him know that, and you know, the one thing that it's hard for some parents to do is lead by example. And, you know, that's ultimately what you have to do. You know, my son got in trouble at school and found himself on my couch. Mm-hmm. So you know, I mean, it sucks for him, but the reality is, where are you going to go? You know, you have to rely on me, and my expectations are very high for you. So, you know, that's the way the conversation went, and that's the way the expectation went while he was here. Yes, you're going to go get a job. Yes, you're going to do this. Yes, you're going to do that. And he stepped up in that particular situation. So, you know, I know that there is unconditional love of a parent, but I think there are conditions that it goes to. There's some responsibilities that you have to own up to, not only as my son, but as a man. Mm-hmm. And if I were profoundly disappointed, if I were Ray Rice's dad, then, you know, I agree with you guys. Football is on the shelf, and we have to talk about how are you going to be a parent, how are you going to be a good father, a good husband, and how are you going to redeem yourself? And you can redeem yourself. I mean, in my mind, you can redeem yourself. You know, we talked about this before. Up until this situation, Ray Rice, by all accounts, was a model citizen. You know, he did what he was supposed to do. He was in the community. He was giving his money and time, and had a level of sincerity that resonated with people off and on the football field. Yeah. You can get those things back, but you know, it's not about the imaging. It's about you being a sincere and honest person.
That's the thing with, you know, Janae Rice spoke in the interview. She says that, you know, when the Ravens needed the go-to community guy was Ray Rice. When they needed him to be out there, he was out there. You know, we were family, and then they turned their backs on us, which to me tells you, okay, first of all, you're never family.
No.
Okay, it's a business.
They named their daughter Raven.
Yeah, you know.
I think they drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
They drank the Kool-Aid, and that's, you know, I've seen this story before. Young, impressionable people who have ability. Ray Rice was a great spokesman for the Ravens off the football field because he was doing his thing on the football field. So you're getting the love, you're getting the adulation from a community like Baltimore loves their football team. You name your child Raven because you feel like you're in the house.
Right.
But you are in the house.
But you're never family though. You're never family.
But right. You are in the house, but like you said, you have to understand what business is. Mm-hmm. This multi-million-dollar brand, you made a fatal error. Mm-hmm. And we can't have our brand diminished. You know, we can love you. I have no doubt that they did love him, and they do love him. But damn, I can't be associated with this. It's like all of us. It's like if we're doing what we do, and one of y'all, I kill somebody, it's like great, man. I know y'all love me, mm-hmm. But it's like you can't be on a damn podcast. You can't no damn murder on the podcast.
I'll say this: we will address it on a case-by-case basis. But you know what's interesting though is you know Arthur Blank, who owns the Falcons, he still has a close relationship with Michael Vick.
Yeah.
You know, he had to let him go. Well, he didn't have. He had to go to jail. But I mean, he could have brought him back afterwards, but he chose not to. But they still have a good relationship. The owner of the Falcons and Michael Vick. You know? They kind
of lied on. They did. I guess they lied on Ray though. They kind of lied on Ray, right? They said that he did not tell them, yeah. And in fact they did. Now, did Ozzie lie too? Because if that's the case, Ozzie has a great reputation too. Did Ozzie lie too? He didn't tell us nothing. Huh?
My understanding is that he told the company line, so I guess the answer to that would probably be yeah. But
damn, Ozzie, Ozzie.
It's one of those things, though.
Ozzie's like I'm gonna be Ozzie for a second. I'll be damned if I lose my damn job over this Negro.
The life lesson, though.
After all I built, I mean, Ray one was enough.
But the life lesson, I think, for Janae in regards to the Ravens is you could be the go-to guy. You could be, you know, the owner wants you to come to the house for Thanksgiving and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you ain't family, man. You'll never be family. That family thing, that's a very tight circle, and you ain't in it.
Yeah.
You know. So I saw the story about this woman. She's 93 years old. She had been a member of the same church since she was a little girl. And she passed away, and the pastor would not do the homegoing service because she had not tithed in a very long time. Now, the woman had been in a coma for the last 2 years before she finally passed. And her daughter was very upset about what the pastor decided not to do because she had not tithed. And I just thought, wow. How is someone like this allowed to be a pastor? I mean, where's the disconnect? Where is it in his mind? You know, this woman probably over the course of her life, 80 plus years that she was a member of the church, probably gave a humongous amount of money over the years, tithing, and probably volunteered a lot of her time and things like that. And you know, my only thing I could think of why he would do something like that, it must have been political. Maybe she opposed him on something he was trying to get. Maybe she was on the board. I don't know. I'm not there. But I just cannot imagine what in his mind makes him think it would be okay for him to say, no, she ain't tithed. I ain't giving her no service. What makes that, what in his mind makes him think that that's the right thing to do?
A Bentley payment. Hey, we came up short on Sunday. Help a brother out. What's up?
A Bentley payment.
Yes, man. Well, you know, at one of my relatives' funeral, the minister who was, you know, funny and, you know the type, the guys who are entertaining but kind of like, did he really say that?
Yeah.
He went into a whole spiel about that and how my relative was very good at tithing. But some of y'all now, I don't know, you know. Yeah. And the thing about that is, you know, that hurts people's feelings, you know. And it was older, my relative was in her 90s, so, you know, people have been there a long time, and then you're gonna bust me out, you know. And so their jaws were tight when he was like, oh, but some of y'all, you know. And I was thinking that's just not appropriate. This is not a comedy club. Tithing is very personal. And people do what they can, and it's their relationship with God. But he thought it was cool to throw it out there like that. So I think some ministers, sadly, they do that, and it's not you know, there's a time and a place for everything. But damn, it's definitely not church.
I can't help but think though, when someone doesn't tithe, and it could be for a variety of reasons. One, they can't afford it. Two, they don't like the job you're doing. They don't really, you know. So maybe you're doing a lousy job as the leader of the church. I mean, it could be for any kind of reasons. But to me, I think that if somebody reaches a certain age, let's say 70, you're not required to tithe anymore, right? Because you know what? You know, when you retire usually in your 60s, and when you do, money gets to be a little tight. You know, and the church should carry you. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong. Maybe there's just too many senior members for that to be a logical solution. But to flat out say, I'm not giving you a homegoing service because you haven't tithed is, to me, like the ultimate slap in the face for a woman who had been a member of that church since before that pastor was even born.
Tony evoked the senior citizen discount.
That's right.
Hey, you get a Golden Corral, why not?
You know?
You can get a coffee at McDonald's for 25 cents.
You know what I'm saying? Hook me up. I mean, to me, you know, it's like, you know, and I got to be real honest. I mean, you know, I don't even go to church. I mean, I pray twice a day, and maybe I need to do more, and, you know, I'll address that. Hopefully in the near future. I don't know when I'll address it. You know, I'm Catholic, and I'm so angry at the Catholic Church for this whole scandal, this whole mess involving young boys and stuff like that, and how they hid it, and how they just moved a pastor who they knew was a pedophile from one congregation to another, from one city to another, without turning him in. They hid it. That makes me angry to the point where I'm not even interested in going into a Catholic church. And that's an issue that I have to deal with. I love God, you know, and I do pray twice a day. It's been the only thing that has sustained me since I was unemployed. But, you know, going through this and seeing what happened in my faith, in my religion, my Catholic religion, has really turned me off. And I mean, I'll admit, even before then, I really didn't go to church. But now it's like I've completely, you know, and I hate to say it, I pretty much have turned my back on the Catholic Church. You know?
Oh, easy, Tony. You're killing us. You're killing it.
What about Francis? You like Pope Francis?
I like some of the stuff he's done. I think that, you know, and you know, as a society, you know, we're at a crossroads now on so many different levels. The Catholic Church is at a crossroads because he's trying to do some things that are unheard of in the Catholic Church. And we as society, you know, there was a baseball umpire that came out of the closet. He'd been gay for 28 years and has been met with, well, he's been gay all his life. He's been with the same partner for 28 years. And it finally came out that he was gay, and it was no big deal. The crews that he worked with knew he was gay. Major League Baseball knew he was gay, but it was not a big deal. But he came out, finally he came out for whatever reason. And, you know, there's already backlash, right? He needs to resign. There's no room for that in baseball. But we're changing. This is why all these states, their same-sex marriage laws are being struck down, because we're evolving as people. We're changing, and we're figuring that, you know, you can't step on people's rights. I mean, you pay taxes.
The CEO of Apple just came out.
Yeah, and you know, and a lot getting a lot of backlash for that too. You know, and it's just that people, if you're not willing to move along with the changes that are happening in our world, then you're gonna be a shut-in. You're gonna be left in the back with no voice. No one's gonna take you serious because you have to come with the times. Do I like the fact that some states have legalized marijuana for medical use, for recreation, whatever? No, I don't like that. But you know what? It ain't about me.
That's right, Tony. Quit hating.
You know, it's not about me. It's what
you doing.
You know, and you know what? I'm not gonna smoke weed. So it doesn't affect me. You know.
No comment here. No comment here.
You know, and
I'm not gonna smoke it, but I might inhale it off one of those things.
And gay folks that they want to get married, that has no effect on me. I've got other problems in my life that I need to address. And in my journey of getting closer to God, the one thing I have realized is this: we are instructed by God to love each other, have compassion for one another, help each other when we can, and whatever we think the sins of man are, we're supposed to put it on him. He says, put it on me. I will take care of that. Y'all continue to love each other. I've adopted that in my life, and I have to, because, you know, the older you get, the more you reflect on things in the past and the mistakes that you've made. And so you start asking for forgiveness, and you can't really ask for forgiveness if you still keep living your life in a foul kind of way. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't make sense.
Oh, you can? Sure you can. Why not?
But that's,
hey, why not? We all do it. Why not? You can, but
that's a whole other thing, though. So what do you guys have, man? Anything on your mind?
What do you think of Chris Rock's interview?
I thought it was great.
Yeah,
I thought
really
what Chris Rock said was spot on, man. It was spot on. That there is no such thing as race relations in this country. Mm-hmm. You know, there's no such thing. I mean, it goes back to when the President Obama won the election the first time, and they said we now live in a post-racial society. Well, who came up with that one?
Yeah, that phrase was bandied about quite a bit. And
yeah. I mean, and his comments about Bill Cosby, I mentioned this on my podcast yesterday that Bill Cosby, a lot of people say, no, not Cliff Huxtable. I grew up with him. Well, you know what? I go back to I Spy, right? I grew up in the many different TV shows that Bill Cosby had over the years before he finally hit a home run with the one where he played Cliff Huxtable. There was the Bill Cosby Show. There was Cosby. There was, there were different variations of everything. There was the Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids. I go back to all of that. Mm-hmm. And to see where, he is now, I mean, like Chris Rock says, it's hard to believe. You don't want to believe it. Is it possible? I mean, Chris didn't say this, but hell, anything's possible. Yeah. But he doesn't want to believe it. I mean, I don't want to believe it, but if it happened, he resigned from the Temple Board, but I thought his Chris Rock's interview was great.
Yeah, his comments on race were interesting when he said there are no race relations in America. He said white people were crazy, now not as crazy. and to say that black people made progress would be to say they deserve what happened to them before. Like, for example, when you have a president of the United States, he said that this is the first black president, but it's not because there weren't people educated
qualified,
or talented or qualified enough to be president in the past. Mm-hmm. It's just that white people were feeling good enough to vote for one.
Right.
Basically,
Right.
I was like, wow.
I was really impressed with his insight. It made you, I think, respect him even more as a comedian and understand where that kind of thinking comes from. I posted this thing about slavery on Facebook, and I had this thought, man. It was breaking down, 15 things you did not know about slavery, right? And it was talking about how there was a with the slaves, that oftentimes, of course, which would make perfect sense, in addition to showing the slaves, they would allow the possible buyers of the slaves to have sex with the slave and sometimes even participate in orgies. It talked about how with the male slave, a lot of times it was almost a quota. They wanted him to produce like 15 children or 20 children in his lifetime. It talked about how when the boys became like 14 or 15 years old, if they were small, a lot of times they would castrate that kid and he would be sent to work in the house, and then the field slaves obviously would be in the slave. And so I thought about that whole like this having these kids thing that they don't really talk about a lot. We kind of fill in the blanks. And you look at the NFL and you look at the pro sports, and you see this kind of dynamic where you have these athletes who are detached from these multiple children. And I just thought about, there's a precursor there. There was a system that, we had that question, how can you have 20 kids and not care about, and you start thinking about, again, back to the history of America and slavery, and how we always keep saying, oh, that happened so long ago. What impact does that have on us? I think it has a huge impact on not only our consciousness, but also there's some real physical things that happen that probably are still going on that we don't even realize, So I think, again, there's a feeling, like you said, post-racial, where people feel like, I'm tired of talking about it, but man, we haven't really got into it. And then poor Native Americans, you know what I mean? And so all this stuff that we don't really want to talk about, and we don't think if we don't talk about it, it'll go away. I don't think it goes away. I think it just keeps growing and growing, So
it continues to get thrust back into
it gets pushed back
public space.
Right.
And I was watching Meet the Press. You had this blowout last week between Rudy Giuliani and Michael Eric Dyson, and Rudy Giuliani said, exactly how he feels about policing in the black community. So they came back this week with a show on race. And I heard one comment, I can't remember who made it, but it was kind of interesting. The point that the person was making was, instead of having another conversation about race, maybe we need to have a project, something that we're working on towards, it was just a different way to couch it, because you're right, people are willing to eject themselves from the conversation about race. Yeah. The owning up to it. As Chris Rock said in his interview, he said, basically, white people have to own up to what their fathers and forefathers did, not because it's their fault, but if that doesn't happen, we can't get anywhere in this conversation. Mm-hmm. Acknowledging that this actually happened, and and it shouldn't have happened.
Right.
So you have that, and then you have, as African Americans, we place a lot of emphasis on these conversations about, what happened to us 400 years ago, and which obviously shaped our we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for slavery,
right,
in essence. So I'm not taking anything away from that, but we know why we got here, how we got here, but we also know, I'm not trying to put the big emphasis on this, but there is some personal responsibility that we have in our day-to-day lives. You know what I'm saying? I don't think I don't put that at the top of the list, but I know that's a part that we often say, hey, this happened to us and we didn't have anything to do with it. Well, we have some responsibility there. Yeah. So what my point is, we're all not owning up to our levels of responsibility in the conversation. So you can't move forward. Chris Rock, again, to reference him, he says people over 30 have already the die has already been cast, but young people do not share the same kind of prejudices that we do,
right?
Because we were grown up and exposed to them. We all know that prejudice is a learned behavior,
right?
And you know, we're subject to groupthink, you know, and things like that. And you know, the oil was poisoned long before we got here.
And I will one more thing. The thing about the personal responsibility piece that is interesting, though, is I think people, and I'm not, you know, I think people of color like us, we do not play the race card. The peers that I know who've had success, that's not what we do. We base our success on our ability to do the job and all that. So I can honestly say 99.9% of all my friends and peers that I deal with, they don't use the quote-unquote race card, right? So it's weird. We say personal responsibility. When we say that, we're not even talking about us. We're talking about the people that we see who maybe use it. Mm-hmm. But that tells you how diabolical the system is, that we mention it, though we don't use it. You know what I'm saying? So why do we even mention it? Because we're not even using it. Right. We use it for those people we see on TV, or those people we see talking crazy. You know what I'm saying? We use it for them to almost account for them. But if we're talking about, our sincerely, in our heart and in our soul and our success, we've never used it, man. But we still fall victim to racism. Right. Now that tells you how powerful the system is. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's how powerful the system is. That also tells you how we think. We don't have to say that, but we do. We always say it. Why do we always say it? You know, yeah. That's how we're conditioned. You know, it's like Hispanic people defending, Black African American defend. You know what I mean? We always say it. We always say to be fair. But the ironic part is white boys don't say it to be fair. They don't fair. When Giuliani said the white officers wouldn't be there if you people didn't kill each other. Damn, that's the dude who's in charge. Yeah. And the part about it, he kept bringing up that he thought he was resting his hat on. He said, 97% of African Americans kill African Americans. Well, 82% of white people kill white people. So that's what people do. And that's the part that he didn't say at all in that. So if you're watching it and you don't hear the other part, you go, oh man, it is true, black on black crime. No, it's the same. White on white crime, Hispanic on Hispanic crime. You kill people you live around and that's how it works. But
yeah, that's true. Well, we'll leave it right there. That's our program, In on Everything, where we talk about everything, and we covered a lot of ground today. Appreciate you watching, sharing, listening. If you're in St. Louis, I have an event coming up on Friday in Ferguson at Kathy's Kitchen. It's called Tony Scott Live. I'm going to do my podcast live from there. Wow. Hopefully you can come by if you can. It's free admission. Unless you want to eat or drink, that's on you, man. I'm
You're not footing the bill on that, huh?
No, I can't. I would if I could, but I can't, so I won't. But
unless there's a sponsor who wants to sponsor.
Well, that would be great. But nevertheless, I will be there on Friday. So if you want to come by, you can. All right. Other than that, that's Bart Clark at Radio 103.9 in New York City. And Troy Johnson is in Washington, D.C. with WHUR, WNEW, and Channel 4. You're a busy man.
Damn, Troy.
You're a busy man.
You got 3 checks, man.
I didn't know I was as Jamaican as I am.
I'm Tony Scott in St. Louis. I'm on the radio on the weekends on Old School 95.5 WFUN. So if you can catch up with me there.
Tony's on whenever he wants to be on. That's how he rolls.
You are crazy.
Tony's on when he wants to.
No, that's not true. But I'm on Saturdays from 2 to 7, Sundays from 3 to 7. So thank you so much for watching Men on Everything, and we'll see you next time.